Roots. Types, regions and root systems. The part of a plant which acts as its centralized system, providing strength, growth and nutrition to the rest of the parts is the root. The root end of an embryo of a seed possesses a radicle from which the first root of the plant develops upon germination of the seed. The roots are generally divided into two categories. 1. Primary roots, which originate from the embryo and usually persist throughout life, and 2. Adventitious roots, which arise secondarily from the stem, leaf or other tissues and may be either permanent or temporary. The root is the descending portion of the axis of the plant and grows away from light. Root growth is generally directed towards gravity, that is, it is positively geotropic. Usually the root is not green in color. However, in certain cases, when the root is exposed to light for a prolonged period, it turns green in color, as in the case of Tinospora, some orchids and water chestnut. The root does not commonly bear buds. Sometimes the roots are seen to bear vegetative buds for vegetative propagation, example, in case of sweet potato. Such plants sometimes propagate by root cuttings. The root ends in and is protected by a cap-like structure known as the root cap. The root bears unicellular hair that appear in a cluster in the roots and 2. Adventitious roots. The root that develops directly from the radicle is known as the primary root, which in most cases persists and becomes strong. Categorized as follows. 1. Fibrous roots may be given off in clusters from the base of the stem, as in case of onions, or from the nodes of creeping branches of grasses, or the lower nodes of the stem, as in case of maize. 2. Foliar roots develop from the leaf. Example, in Bryophyllum, Begonia, Pogostemon, etc. 3. True adventitious roots are given off by many plants from their nodes and sometimes from the internodes as they creep on the ground. Example, in Indian pennywort. The adventitious roots are also produced from branch cuttings when they are put into the soil. Example, in rose, sugarcane, tapioca, etc. away from the tip and the younger and shorter ones are towards it. The taproot normally grows vertically downwards, while the secondary or tertiary roots grow obliquely downwards or look at the different parts of a root. The tip of each root is covered by a protective root cap, a thimble-shaped covering of cells which fits over the rapidly growing meristematic region, that is, the calyptrogens. The outer part of the root cap is rough and uneven because its cells are constantly being worn away as the root pushes through the soil. The growing point consists of actively dividing meristematic cells from which all the other tissues of the root are formed. The growing point also gives rise to new root cap cells to replace the ones worn away. Immediately behind the growing point is the zone of elongation, where the cells remain undifferentiated but grow rapidly in length by taking in large amounts of water. The growing point is about 1 millimeter in length and the zone of elongation is 3 to 5 millimeters long. These two are the only parts of the root that account for the continued elongation of the root. Above the zone of elongation is the zone of maturation, characterized externally by a covering of whitish root hairs. In this zone, the cells differentiate into the permanent tissues of the roots. Each root hair is a slender, elongated lateral projection from a single epidermal cell through which most of the water and minerals are absorbed. Root hairs are delicate and short-lived. New hairs are constantly formed just behind the zone of elongation, and old hairs further back wither away and die as the root elongates. Only a short segment of the root, perhaps 1 to 6 centimeter long,